Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Owens, and you're listening to another transmission from A Cult of Misfits. If you're new to the cult, this is a space where I talk about spiritual awakening and the inner journey, consciousness, the nature of reality, interdimensional beings, all the fun stuff. So if you enjoy my content and feel led to reciprocate, you can do that by sharing the podcast with a fellow misfit on social media or by making a donation to Matt Owens 111 on Venmo. Thank you to everybody who has done just those things, sharing and donating. I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. You know, the Gnostic Gospels, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Gnostic Gospels talk a lot about sharing of podcasts. And if you share my podcasts, the ancient scripts talk about how an angel gets its wings. So if you feel led to do so, if you want to help the celestial kingdom to multiply, the way to do that is by obviously sharing my podcast. So thank you so much for everybody reciprocating. I love you. I love this little community that we have. Today, I want to talk about a real uplifting topic, existential dread. I was going to make it just one of the many topics I was going to talk about today, but as I went on my walk, it just sort of kept expanding and expanding. And so that's what we're talking about today. Existential dread, the awakening process, dark nights of the soul, the difficult stuff. That's what I want to talk about today. And I want to end on a positive, uplifting note and talk about ways and things that I do in my own life to get myself out of those pits of despair that we often go through. I know that I'm not new to that process at all. So before we dive in, I want to talk about trees. I was on a walk today and I saw a couple of lumberjacks. Are they even called lumberjacks anymore? Arborists? I don't know, guys. But anyway, I was in a neighborhood taking a walk, sat down on a bench to just, zen out and meditate and meld with the all that is. And I heard these guys yelling back and forth, and I, kind of located it, and they were up in these trees. And I was like, what the heck? And so I just sat there for about 20 or 30 minutes watching these guys chop down the trees, and it was super fascinating. It's one of those things that, like, yeah, I guess people do that, but I just never sat down and watched it before. And it was interesting to me because it's just outside of my realm of knowledge, and I didn't know how they did it. And I thought that you might find it interesting. So I'm going to tell you briefly, buckle in. We're going to talk about trees, guys. Uh, trees is the appetizer, and then the main course is existential dread. So it'll be a good segue. Um, what they did, I came in a little bit late to the game, but what they had done is I live in the Pacific Northwest, so there's these big, 40, 50, 60 foot tall evergreen trees, fir trees or whatever, I don't know. Not an arborist, guys, but what they did was these guys were probably 40 feet in the air, two trees right next to each other, and they'd completely stripped all of the branches off with chainsaws. And when I came into the game, they were at the top of the tree, and what they had done is they had lumberjacked themselves up there. That's a technical term, guys. Lumberjacking your way up. Once they had cleared the tree. So it's like a giant, toothpick that's stripped bare, except for the top of the tree that they're about to go at. So they attach a cable and a pulley system to it, and then they chainsaw it, and there's a guy down below waiting for it, and they slowly drop the top of this tree down because it's big and bulky and awkward. They can't just chop it and cross their fingers that it goes right. So they have this pulley and cable system that allows them to slowly lower the top of the tree down to the ground, and then they start going nuts. They start chopping off the tree in little bits, like in a little 2 or 3 foot bits, like creating these logs, and then they inch their way down the tree a little bit and then chop off a couple more logs, and they're just slowly, like, beavering their way, that's another technical term, guys, beavering their way down the tree. And it's just slowly diminishing as they chop it down. Really interesting to watch. So thought I would share that with you guys, give you a little insight as to the magical things that I see on my walks. All right, it's time for the main event. Let's talk about existential dread. And the reason why we're talking about existential dread is because I'm going through existential dread. And maybe you can relate to it. So I feel like this is not the first time that I've experienced this feeling, this, this dread, this darkness. And I've done it enough times now on my journey that I can talk about it. And I take notes every time I go through. I take notes mentally and through these podcasts. Right, I document what I'm going through, so that when these things arise in my life, these bumps or these blocks or the scary stuff or the rough patches or whatever, um, I document it all with great detail, because I want to learn how to deal with it the next time it comes around, because it's always coming back around. That's the way that this lovely universe works, right? Where we have these cycles and patterns that keep appearing in our lives, and so knowing that that's the mechanism of the universe that we're in, I start keeping notes, so that when the dread kicks in, when the darkness kicks in, I'm like, okay, I've dealt with this before. This is fucking rough, but like it gets easier every time because I talk about it, because I work my way through it, because I figure out what works and doesn't work for me during the process, and then I share it with y'all. And if you want to copy my notes, you can. That's why we're doing this. But this is just what I do. Um, it's so difficult when you're in those dark pits of despair or worry or fear or, you know, the scary place. But just recognizing that you're not, maybe you're going through it too right now. That's why this is resonating with you and you're listening to it. So, hi, cheers, welcome. It's fun, huh? But I've come to realize that this is part of the process. Like it or not, try your best to like it, because it's not going away. This is just a part of the process of awakening. Somebody just recently asked me, like, what does the awakening process mean to you? Um, and it's just sort of this stripping away of the way that I think things are, right? My belief systems and how I see things, and why do I respond that way, or why does this trigger me, why does this scare the shit out of me but doesn't scare other people. Always digging deeper, deeper, deeper to figure these things out. So that's what the awakening process is for me, is just learning more about who I am, how I operate, and to do it lovingly. That's what I had to learn, because I did not do it very lovingly in the beginning. I often would beat myself up saying that I'm doing this whole, spiritual awakening thing wrong. I'm an idiot. I'm not good enough. I can't meditate long enough. It's too hard for me, like all the things, right? But in that process, I've learned to love myself through it now. Like, you got this, buddy. This is just a part of the process. It's not going to last forever. These are the things I tell myself, because they're true. They're true. Once I come out of the tunnel, once the coin flips, once the pendulum swings, whatever analogy you want to use, whenever it turns around, because it always does, new seasons are always coming. Sometimes they seem to last forever. I get it. I'm in one of those seasons right now. Cheers. Love you. Go team. What's sort of what kicked off this existential dread for me these last couple of weeks is I've been really diving deep into the nature of reality, which I talk about frequently because I think it's very important. I think it's a big component to this whole thing. And so I talk about it often. And I've been really questioning the nature of reality upon analysis, right? Like I dove real deep, listened to what everybody had to say about it, and then came to some conclusions. And I don't say it with a capital T truth. I just say, like, well, this is what makes sense to me today. Who the fuck knows what's going on around here, right? The nature of reality. Like, I don't know. I don't come from a place of like, this is how it is, guys. Right? The burning bush told me reality is fake. Like, listen to me. The gods have spoken. Like, it's none of that. It's just I'm going on my intuition. I'm going on my feelings. I'm going on what science tells me. I'm going on what the ancients tell me. I'm going on what philosophy and spirituality, what my intuition, what it's all pointing towards. And it's all pointing towards none of this is real. It's all an illusion. And then I also start questioning things like free will. I don't know. Do we have free will or not? I don't know. But what I'm playing with, the little game I like to play, these mental gymnastics that I do for myself, is I try to push myself outside of my bounds mentally by questioning these things. Like, could I could I get to a place where I'm okay and content if A, none of this is real, it's all an illusion, and B, I have no free will and everything is out of my control. And I'm playing out some story that a divine being has written for me. Maybe my higher self, maybe God, maybe Yaldabaoth, maybe Yahweh. I don't know, guys. But that put me in a state of like, well, that's cool. So nothing I do matters. I can't change anything. I'm just on this, floating down this cosmic river of life that I can't change or alter. And I'm just supposed to enjoy it, to just accept it, to just be, as the ancients say. Can I come to a place where I'm okay with that? And it's rough. Because I just start stripping everything away. It's like, well, can I grapple with that mentally? Can I get myself to a place where I accept that perhaps those things are true? And so that's why I've gotten into this place of dread, of like, wow, what is the point of any of this? What is the point of manifesting? What is the point of the inward journey? What is the point of discovering more about myself, learning to love myself, learning to face my fears, going down this path, going down that path? You're telling me none of it matters? It's just happening because it's meant to happen? That's hard to process. It's hard to process. Whether or not it's true, I'm just grappling with it. And so I've been here before. I've been down the path of questioning, the government and big pharma, and my eyes can now see things that I hadn't seen before. That's part of the process as well. Of like, holy shit, hadn't thought of that before. It's been right in front of me the whole time. How could I have not seen that? Right? That's a part of the awakening process. Opening of the eyes, opening of the third eye. Right? But in this stripping away of everything it's extremely painful, mentally, spiritually, physically, even. Right? All the things. And so what I've learned when I'm in these dark places of questioning everything, of, throwing my fists into the air, screaming to the gods, what the fuck is going on around here? What is real? What isn't real? I feel like I'm losing my mind some of these days, where it's like, what is going on around here? It's overwhelming. Like, the Nephilim are coming. Right? All these scary things. And just trying to get myself to a place of acceptance. So what I do in these situations is two things. These are the two main things that I do to get myself out of the dark spaces, knowing that it's all going to turn around eventually, right? We're going to get through this, bud. As I'm, sobbing, ugly crying in the corner, like, okay, yeah, sounds good. We'll get through this, right? Like, I've been there. Maybe I was there yesterday, guys. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I was there yesterday. But it's about not staying there, not dwelling there. I'll get to the two things in a minute. It's about not staying there in that dark space, right? It's allowing for the dark space. It's allowing myself to feel those feelings, because that's ultimately what I feel like the Omega, my higher self or spirit or souls or whatever, wants to experience. So I don't try to push away those feelings of existential dread at all. What I've learned to do as a part of this process is not to cram it down or ignore it or try to change it or try to be more positive. Those things don't work for me. Now they may work for you. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just saying what worked for me, and these are the things that I did. The more that I dwell in those places of self-pity or victimhood, or why is this happening to me, or they're making me feel that way, or how could they have done that, all those things just prolongs my own suffering. So what I do is I allow the feelings to come. Sometimes a few hours, sometimes a couple days, right? Used to be a few weeks or months. So that's what I've been whittling down over the past few years, is these periods of darkness, of depression, of all these things that I've experienced my whole life. I've learned to manage them. That's what this process is about. It's just learning because they're not going to go away. The dark times are always going to come. The coin is always going to flip. The pendulum's always going to swing. And so it's about, for me, I wanted to get myself to a place where they didn't rock my boat as much as they used to. So I would fall into these dark periods for months. And now I've learned, I've been given these tools, is what I should say. The universe has given me these tools benevolently. I'm thankful for my spirit team for showing me the way about how to make these dark times a little less bumpy, a little less scary. That's why we talk about it. So I try not to dwell in it. I love it, I accept it, and then I say, okay, we're buttoning this up. We've milked this for all it's worth. We've cried all the tears. We've gone through all the things. We've shaken our fist to the heavens. Let's grab our bootstraps here and let's get going. I don't want to dwell on this any longer. And so what I do in order to do that is the two things. The first thing that I do is gratitude. I gratitude as hard as I can. I pump up the gratitude. I pump it up real hard. So I'll go on these long walks and I will just be thankful for every fucking thing. It gets me into, sometimes I got to jumpstart it. Like, thank you that I have food. Thank you that I have air to breathe. Thank you that I have legs to walk on. Thank you that I have this free time to go and take walks in the woods and convene with nature and connect with the all that is. And I'm so thankful for all these things. And then once I start like down that path, I got to jumpstart it sometimes, right? But once it starts moving, then the gratitude start flowing. And the tears start flowing oftentimes too. And I just think when I just sort of, link up with the all that is, and it just sort of is flowing through me. And I just start being thankful for my journey and thankful for all of the things that I've been shown in my life and thankful for all of the tough times because they've made me stronger. It's bringing me to tears, guys. Do you feel it? So I feel like I have to get myself into a place of gratitude because first of all, it feels good. It feels real good. And it gets me to a frequency where I'm not wallowing in suffering, or I'm not wallowing in self-pity or doubt or worry or fear. So it literally just refocuses my mind on all the good things that are going on in my life. Because oftentimes, the voice in our head, which I call Hal, like from 2001: A Space Odyssey, shout out to Hal. Hal's always trying to rope me back into these fearful and dark thought patterns, right? And so it's about practicing, baby steps, putting duct tape over Hal's mouth and saying, nope, we're not going to think that way today. I'm not going to allow myself to wallow in it. Yes, I see that the thought came, that feeling came, the pain came, and I got nervous there for a minute, but I'm not going to let it linger. See you, love you, bye. Next. That's what I do. So this gratitude really gets me into a good place. When I first started doing gratitude, it was a rough going, guys. It was really hard to think of like 5 things I was grateful for. I've never been one of those people who writes things down in a journal, like, before you go to bed, write down things that you're grateful for, and be like, okay, grateful for my kids, grateful for food on the table, grateful that I can breathe. Okay, good night. And it just wasn't heartfelt and wasn't genuine, and the universe knew it. But it's a starting place. And so rather than beating myself up, I was like, you know what? That one kind of sucked. That one was kind of lame, but it's a start. That's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to try again. I'm going to start working on this gratitude thing until it really starts feeling good. And it's not every day that it feels good. Sometimes, it's harder than others, but like it's about trying to get yourself into that frame of mind. Because once you start doing it, you start realizing, holy shit, I actually do have a lot of good stuff going on in my life. Yes, granted, there are things that I could focus on that are not going the way that I want them to, right? Those things that those people did to me, or these circumstances, harumph, right? But I'm making an active choice not to focus on those things. And in doing so, it puts me in a place of gratitude, naturally. And I just have to practice it and keep practicing it because I find that when I don't practice it, I get a little rusty. So it's just skills practice. So I thank the universe. Thanks for the skills practice. Thanks for keeping me sharp, spiritually strong, right? Mentally strong. It's just all this practice, practice, practice. So gratitude really helps me getting me out of that pit, the pit of despair. Reminds me of the Princess Bride. Shout out to Princess Buttercup. That was her name. Yeah, Princess Buttercup. I've been playing a lot of Mario lately, so I'm like, wait, Princess Peach. I was confused with Princess Peach, to be honest with you. So we're gonna say Buttercup is correct. And the second thing, the second large pillar that I use in my life when I'm in these dark places, going through these dark nights of the soul, is, drumroll please, no surprise to everybody, it's meditation. When I first started this spiritual journey, meditation was just this weird, like, I don't get it. It's not really for me. I don't understand it. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I'm really bad at it. I suck at this. Like, there's got to be some other way. So I learned to love myself through that process. because I started finding that it was a super useful tool in my spiritual tool belt, meditation. And I realized that I was going to make meditation be what I wanted it to be. I didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to sit in the lotus position and, have my index finger and thumb positioned like the Buddha and, straightening my spine and trying to get into the correct position, whatever the fuck that means, according to who. So I started playing around with other ways of meditating, and I found they're much more enjoyable because they're much more me. For me, meditation is just shutting off that fucking voice in your head. That's it. Stop thinking. That's meditation for me. And once I defined it like that, a lot of avenues of meditation opened up for me. I realized, I would hear these gurus or whatever talking about how they went on a spiritual journey and they were meditating, 6 or 8 hours a day. And I was like, holy shit, like what the what? How is that even possible? But now I'm at a place where it's not consecutive. I'm not sitting there for 6 hours meditating solid, but I do meditate for about 6 hours a day. I take a lot of long walks, and I found that, I just do a lot of contemplation or just being, just listening to the sound of, my shoes on the gravel, on the path, on the trail that I'm walking on in the woods, or the chirping of the birds, or there's so many things that I can just focus on that allow me to not think, right? Not think about the past or not think about the future or what's going to happen or how's this going to work out or how am I going to do that or none of that. It's exhausting. And so I found that in practicing shutting that voice off, my life got a lot more peaceful. Such a useful tool for those moments, especially when I'm feeling the existential dread, when I'm feeling the darkness closing in, when I'm feeling the panic attacks setting in, or when I'm feeling, like it's all over. I laugh, but like it's not funny. It fucking sucks, right? It's fucking awful. It's fucking terrible. It's fucking rough. It's extremely difficult. I get it. That's why we're talking about it. But what I do in those moments is I close my eyes and I just fucking breathe. It's so simple, but when you're panicking, you forget to do those basics, right? I do. That's why I'm talking about it. And maybe you need a reminder. So here you are. Hi. So when I'm in those moments of just, the walls are closing in on me, I just breathe. Or I go out for a walk, right? And just listen to the sound of whatever is near me. It could even be the sound of traffic. I was sitting on a park bench recently, which I do that a lot, guys. Yeah, I'm a park bench guy. What of it? I just sit there and watch the creek, or watch the woodpecker, watch the lumberjacks. All the lumberjacks sprinkled through the woods. Um, it sounds very like Bavarian, like just lumberjacks left and right. Can't throw a pine cone without hitting a lumberjack around here, guys. Uh, but I just learned that gratitude in conjunction with meditation gets me to a real good place. Now, it doesn't always take me out of the dark place, but it just helps, pour a little gasoline on that divine flame in this dark fucking cave that I'm in, right? When I feel all alone and scared out of my mind and helpless, that's a fun feeling, isn't it? Helplessness, um, these rough periods, right? Super hard. I just try to remember that I have a flame within me that will never go out. I have legions of angels and beings in the spiritual realms that are looking after me and guiding me and leading me every step of the way, encouraging me left and right to keep going. You got this. You're doing an amazing job, even when the voice in my head is telling me that I'm not. And to just love myself through it. I was having a particularly rough day yesterday. And the universe gave me a message that I didn't necessarily want to hear, but it kind of helped me to get through it, was that this period that I'm in right now is a bit like a psychedelic trip, an LSD trip or something. Now, I've never personally had a bad psychedelic trip, but I understand what would be like, right? Like I get it. And so the universe just sort of told me yesterday that to just pretend like you're on a bad trip. And my higher self, the Omega, is just sort of like, rubbing my back gently and saying, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this, buddy. And I'm like, how much longer is this going to last? Right? Like somebody on a bad trip, like, that it's going to end at some point, right? Like if you're watching your friend go through a bad trip, you're like, oh shit. Okay, well, let's just get through this the best we can, buddy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing you can do to speed it along. There's nothing you can do to make it end. It's just like you're in for a ride, my friend, and you just got to get through it. And here's some things you can do to get through it. It's over when it's over. I'm sorry to tell you that. Like these are all things I don't want to hear. But I just remind myself, like, just ride this out. Be calm. Know that I'm looked after and taken care of. Just breathe. I just have to tell myself that 1,000 times a day. Just fucking breathe, buddy. We're gonna get through this. And then the more times I say it, it sort of sinks in and gives me a sense of calm, where I'm not in panic mode, where I can take a step back and just say, okay, 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 okay. I see it for what it is. I'm having a bad trip. Like this is a rough time, a rough patch, a dark night of the soul, existential dread, whatever, right? There are, machine elves all around me, whatever. For the record, I've never seen machine elves, but I know it's a thing. So I thought that came to mind. While I was on my walk today, I also had a mantra, because oftentimes a mantra that came to me that I'll share with you. Um, I don't have a mantra or one or two mantras. I just sort of am given these mantras from the great beyond, and I share them with you when it seems appropriate. So today, I realize that I'm often trying to get myself out of this dread, or out of this dark night of the soul. I just want it to be over with. Um, what do I need to do to change this? And I gotta try to be more positive, or just wrestle with it, and that's all exhausting. And I've learned that it doesn't really do anything for me in terms of speeding it along. So I just have to accept it, right? But rather than trying to change it, or to mental my way around it, the mantra that the universe gave me today was, I am in harmony with the all that is. There's nothing that I need to do to be in harmony, for I am already in harmony with everything, with my divine path, with where I'm meant to be. I am in harmony with all of it. It puts me in a place of being and accepting, and there's nothing to do, nothing to change, for I am already perfect, whole, and complete as I am, and I am in harmony with the all that is. I am in harmony with everything, even though it might not seem that way, even though the human is panicking. The higher self, the deeper self, the knowing is that you are already harmonious. You are already complete. You are perfection. Even though you might not feel it, even though friends or family may be telling you that you're not. I believe that we are divinity having a human experience in the 3D material realm. And if that is true, then I am divine and perfect. I am the light of God in 3D form. I am peace. I am the everything. I am harmonious. I just want to breathe on that for a minute. Join me. You're exactly where you're meant to be. If you were meant to be somewhere else, you would be there already. If you were meant to have this or that in your life, it would be in your life. And if it's not, then it's not meant to. There's a divine reason and purpose for everything. Part of this process of awakening, whatever that means, for me has been a process of metaphorically putting the old me up on the altar to sacrifice old versions of me, those versions of myself that lived in fear, that lived in anxiety, that didn't know how to handle life, that was always nervous, always trying to impress people, always trying to pretend that I was something that I wasn't so that I could fit in or be liked or gain acceptance from people or a group or family members. I had to take that little nervous guy and put that guy up on the altar. And these part of this process for me has been about accepting that that is a part of me. Those are parts of me. And I love them and accept them and incorporate them. It's spiritual alchemy. It's accepting everything and incorporating it into who I am, which is to say the all that is. And so I metaphorically put these aspects of myself up onto the altar during these dark periods. Because during this period, it's a stripping away, a burning away of the things that no longer serve me, serve us. And I'm shown that. And it's very painful and scary to let those things go, to release those things from our life that we often, I had found, were gripping onto quite tightly. I did not want to let go of certain things. And the universe lovingly nudged me and guided me towards putting exactly those things up on the altar and sacrificing them. I grew up in a Christian household. I never truly understood sacrifice. I know the Bible fairly well. And a lot of talk of sacrificing. A lot of goats went down, guys. The old timers, they knew how to keep the goat population in check with the sacrifices. But I never truly understood the deeper meaning behind it of sacrificing a goat. For me, it's about sacrificing something that's important to you, that you're grabbing onto. Money, they didn't have money back in the day. Often these communities, their currency was livestock or goats, right? So to sacrifice a goat was often like, taking $500 and throwing it into the fire, right? Like you're out of your mind. But it's this process of learning to let go of these things, trusting and having faith that there will be more goats, that God and the universe and the all that is will always provide. To not hold on to these goats too tightly, or your money too tightly, or these things that you think are important to you too tightly. It's about showing God that you're willing to let that go by sacrificing these things. That's what it means for me. So when I close my eyes and I picture myself putting all of these insecurities up on the altar, lugging them over my shoulder that I've been carrying around my whole fucking life, these insecurities and fears and all of that nonsense. I say it nonsense, but like it's a part of the process. It's not nonsense. It's just who I am, and it's a part of this journey that I'm on. So I take them all and I dump them all up onto the altar. And I have to tell you, it's scary letting those things go initially. But in retrospect, looking back at all of the things that I've let go of, Spirit has asked me to let go of all of my material goods. I was asked to release all of my belongings, and to practice being okay with that. And that's what I've been, these are the types of things that I've been asked to do in my life. These are things that I've asked to sacrifice onto the altar. I like to actually practice these things rather than just talking about them, to incorporate them into my own life and to experience them and then to talk about it. This is what it's like to sacrifice things. It's not easy, but in retrospect, looking back, it's so freeing. This is ultimately what I'm looking for, what I'm manifesting every moment, every day of my life is freedom. I want to be free from it all. Not just free from the government or, these sorts of things, power and all that stuff, but I just want to be free from my own mental traps, free from my own mind, free from these games that I would just play with myself and with others, and mind games, and just all the things, right? Trying to fit in, all of that stuff. And as I work through those things and ultimately at the end sacrifice them, right? What I do is I work through these things. And once I get myself to a place where I feel like they're no longer shackles around my neck, that it's so freeing to let those chains fall to the ground. I love listening to the sound of the chains clinking, because now I'm a little bit more free, right? And then I face another fear and I hear another chain fall to the ground. I realized looking into the mirror when I first started this spiritual journey of mine, I looked into the mirror and I felt like Harry Houdini. You know how he would have these escape, he was an escape artist. So he would often, bundle himself up in chains and then be thrown in, into the river or whatever, and escape. So as I metaphorically looked in the mirror, I just saw that I was bound in all of these, just an endless knot of chains and irons around my entire body, of my own construction, by the way. I looked at who manufactured those chains, and it said property of Matt Owens. And I was like, wait, what? I created these chains? Well, then I must be able to undo them then, huh? And so I feel like I hacked into the matrix. It's like a hack to that I can actually unlock these things and get these chains off. Like nobody told me that before. But as I start doing it, it feels so good. I feel lighter. And for me, that's what this awakening process is just lightening the load. My own load that I put upon my own back. Nobody else did it. Hal would like to tell me that the chains were, well, they put those chains on you, and that's because they treated you like that, and that all that. Nope, 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 nope. They're all courtesy of Matt Owens. Matt Owens' mind, right? I was having a real intimate conversation with God a few nights ago with the Omega, and I said, "Look, I'm weary. I'm weary over here. I feel broken. I feel down. I feel all alone. I feel that nobody understands me. I feel, you know how it gets when you're in the dark place." And I said, I just can't. I just want out of here. Right? Those of you that love me and know me in real life, I'm not suicidal. So thank you for your concerns, but I'm not talking about killing myself. But I don't want to be here. Right? I don't want to be in this realm anymore. Like I'm ready to just like move it along. Right? I've heard a lot of stories about great things on the other side. Like I'm ready for that. Right? When does that come along? I just want to be in the 5D. I just want to be in the new earth. I just want to be in heaven. I just want to be wherever, whatever you call it. Like enough is enough. Let's do this thing. Like I put in the hours. I did all the things you asked of me. I faced my fears. Like, hello, what's next? Why am I still here? Why am I still here in this rut? I just want to be my higher self. I just want to be you, Master Omega. I just want to merge with my higher self and put this all behind me. And the response that I got was that it's coming eventually. And what gets me to the 5D is doing exactly what I'm doing today and tomorrow and the next day. One step after the other, one foot in front of the other, pushing through the fire, pushing through the darkness, pushing through the fear, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. This is what gets me to the higher realm. This is what releases me from samsara, from this cycle of death, rebirth. And so I was told that the exact things that I'm doing are exactly what gets me there. So keep on going. You're doing a great job, buddy. And no, that's not what I wanted to hear at the time. I was like, well, fuck that. I don't want to be here right now. Right? But if I was meant to be there, I would be there already. I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be in the darkness. I'm meant to be experiencing this. My soul is not confused by this process at all. Right? My higher self, this the higher aspect of myself, is not confused by the process. The human is scared out of its mind. And so it's about embodying that higher self, embodying the knowing that everything is okay. That it's not as bad as the voice in my head is telling me that it is. Probably. Right? It's all about perception and perspective and practicing, not lingering in those dark places, not wanting, the Eastern philosophies talk about, not having want or desire in your heart, because that just ultimately leads to suffering. And I never really broke that down before, but if you think about it, it's true. I've seen it in my own life, at least, right? The more that I desire something and then it doesn't come when I want it to, harumph. I want it now. Shout out to Veruca Salt. I've learned that everything comes when it's meant to come, and to learn to get more comfortable with that. And as a human, I will tell you that's not easy. But I will tell you that I have been practicing, and it gets a lot easier. So if you feel encouraged or led to do it, because it does get easier. It doesn't go away. I think this place is meant to be challenging, but I'm also meant to overcome those challenges. And I'm here to tell you that you can as well. You're never given what you can't handle. I'm often reminded of that. I often have to tell myself that. How many times have you faced difficult challenges in your life, and in retrospect, you're like, well, yeah, I got through that. The voice in your head is going to tell you that that's not going to happen this time. Nope. Everything's going to fall apart. Everything's going to get worse. We're all going to die. But it's about not listening to that voice and creating a new truth for yourself. This is what I did for me. Creating new truths for myself, new stories, new scripts. I don't want to talk like that anymore. So now when I'm feeling helpless, hopeless, adrift, in a rut, surrounded by a bunch of demons, those dang Nephilim, you know how they are, always cackling at us. But these are some of the things that I do to rise above it, to wade through it in a way that diminishes my suffering as much as I can. Because the more that I try to struggle, the more that I try to control it, the more that I try to do things to get out of it, right? I'm going to try to meditate more. I'm not meditating enough. That's why things haven't shifted in my life yet. So I'm just going to meditate more. That'll do it. Nope. It's going to come when it comes. Well, I have to get myself to the right vibration, and it's going to come when it comes. It's going to be natural. And the more that I try to force it, I'm just speaking for myself here, guys. The more that I try to force it, doesn't go so good. Doesn't go so good. More suffering. So when I talk about things like practicing going with the flow, practicing allowing the cosmic wind to blow me where it needs to blow out of my life the things that no longer serve me, and to blow in the things that will lift me up. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I often will call to the all that is. I'll pick up the red phone, the bat phone, and say, "We got a code red here. I'm freaking out." Code red, code red. The human is freaking out. And I'm just reminded lovingly that it's all going to be okay. And so I don't know if you needed to hear that today, but here we go. Everything is going to be okay. You're going to look back on this and smile. Maybe not today, but another day for sure. I love you. End transmission.